All right, so what I want to do here is just look at a few additional examples of the reduce array method. There's so many things you can do with this. We're just going to touch the basics. So I'm going to start out with working with a little object here. So I'm going to go const business like this, and this will be an object here. I'm just going to have two properties in here. So I'm going to have income. I'm going to abbreviate this as INC. This is going to be an array. So let's put some values in here. I'm just going to do 1300, 1500, 1700, 400, and then 100. Okay. So these are all the income or payments that we're getting. Let's do expenses. Okay. And we'll do another array. I'm going to use negative values here. It's going to make sense for how we're going to set this up. So I'm going to put negative 200, negative 300, negative 900. I'll do negative 1400 and negative 800. Okay. So I'm going to make a little method, and what this method is going to do is give me the profit, okay, and it's going to add it into my object, okay. So I'm going to do something like get profit, okay. This will be a method, so I'll do an anonymous function here, and basically all I want to do is first merge the two arrays. So I want to put the income and the expenses together in one array. So you can do this with the concat method or the spread operator, whatever you want to do. I'm going to do const all payments, so basically everything. So all payments, I'll set this equal to. Set up my array. I'm going to do ... for the spread operator. So INC, or actually I need this, okay, to refer to the object, that INC. And then ... I want this .exp, okay. So let me go ahead and put a semicolon here. And so now we would have an array that had 1300, 1500, 1700, so on and so forth. And it would also include all those expenses. So basically, if you think about it, if you did 1300 plus negative 200, that would give you 1100, right? It's just like if I did 1300 minus 200, same thing. So what we're going to do here is just use the reduce method to sum all the elements in this array, and that's going to give us our profit, right? Our expenses being subtracted away from our income. So I'm going to go this.profit, okay? So we're going to add a property to this guy with the name of profit is going to be equal to the result of this reduce function. So I'm going to go all payments, and then I'm going to go .reduce, okay? So we can use an arrow function at this point. So again, when you set this up, you're going to have an accumulator and something for the current element. So you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to go ACC for accumulator, and then I'm going to go CUR for current. And all I'm going to do here, you don't need to specify return because I'm going to do this on one line, and we're using an arrow function. But if you're not, you need to specify return, and you want to do ACC your accumulator plus CUR your current. Okay, that's all you need to do. So let me go ahead and give this a save, and let's come down here, and let's go ahead and call the function. So I'm going to go business, and I'm going to go dot, and I'm going to say get profit with some parentheses there. So that's going to add a property with the name of profit in there. And basically the value is going to be 1400, right? So if we think about this, you have 1300 plus 1500 plus 1700 plus 400 plus 100, that would be 5000, right? 13 plus 15 is going to give you 28, plus 17 is going to be 45, plus 4 is going to be 49, plus 1 is going to be 50, right? I just took 2 zeros off each time, put the zeros back on, 50, put 2 zeros in the end, it'd be 5000, okay? Similarly, you could add all these up and you're going to end up with 36, or actually negative 3600 to be specific. And so 5000 minus 3600, or 5000 plus negative 3600 would be 1400, okay? So that's going to be your value stored in that property with the name of profit. Okay, so let's go ahead and console.log. So console.log this business guy, okay, and see it there. Let's pop open the terminal and let's go ahead and run this guy. And so you see you've added in this get profit, which is a method, and then you have this profit here, which is now 1400, okay? So let's go ahead and close this, and I'm going to wipe this and give you a different example now. So a very common thing in JavaScript is to work with an array of objects, okay? You're going to see this quite often. So when you use the reduce method and you're trying to work with an array of objects, you need to be very, very careful. So if we go back to this array.prototype.reduce page, I want to scroll down to where it says sum of values in an object array, okay? So to sum up the values contained in an array of objects, you must, okay, let me repeat that, you must supply an initial value so that each item passes through your function, okay? So in this case, they're using an initial value of 0. In some cases, it will make sense to use an initial value of something else. So let's go ahead and minimize this, and let's think about what we're going to do here. So our task is going to be to get the average age of these students and also to get the oldest person, right? So the maximum age. So we're going to be able to do both of these. So let me scroll down, and first let's call this const. I'm going to say average age, something like this. Now you can make a function that does this, but I'm just going to keep this simple. So I'm going to come through here and just basically say students. So students dot reduce, okay? And I'm going to use an anonymous function here. So inside of here, I'm going to go cur for current, or actually I want the accumulator first. So ACC for accumulator, cur for current. And right now what I want to do is I want to console.log the ACC, the accumulator, and I want to console.log the cur for the current, okay? I'm not going to return anything. I'm not going to do anything. I just want to let you see what this looks like, because you got to remember that when we're going through, this guy is going to be an object, okay? So let's pop open the terminal and let's run this guy. So in the first case, it grabs the first object as the accumulator, right? Because you didn't specify an initial value. Then it's going to go through. This is going to be your current, okay? We didn't return anything, so it's obviously undefined. Then just focus on these. Each time it's going to be an object as you're going through. This is not going to do anything for you because you need to focus on that H. So let's go ahead and go back and let's think about this, okay? How do I get access to the H? Well, each time through I have an object here, so I can use the dot notation. So I can basically say the current, which is that current object that I'm working with, and I can say dot H. So I'm going to come through here, and basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that I want the ACC, or I need to do the return keyword. So return the ACC, or the accumulator, plus the cur.h, okay? Now this is only part of it because, again, you notice that this guy right here is going to start off as being this entire thing, and we don't want that, okay? So I want to set an initial value, and I don't want to set the initial value to 14 or something like that. I basically want to use 0 in this case. So I'm going to put 0 in this particular case, and now it's going to work fine, right? So if I go through here, let me just console.log this so you completely understand, because this is a bit confusing. So console.log, I'm going to do, let's do the ACC, okay? And then let's also do a console.log for the current, okay? So we can look at those guys. And maybe I'll put a border in between them. So console.log, maybe a little border here so we can see the difference between the two. You could also label stuff if you wanted to. So maybe we can come up here and maybe I'll use some backticks and go ACC and then $ curly braces ACC. Whatever you need to do to make this make sense for you. It's really hard when you first start because you just don't know what's going on. And then over time you learn that you can just console.log things and try to understand what's going on. So let's pop this open and let's go ahead and run this again. And so we start off with our accumulator being 0, okay? And then the current is an object, okay? So you see object, object. And then the accumulator becomes 14 because the first person there was 14. It actually would probably be better. Let me go ahead and minimize this. If instead of console.logging the current, because that's the entire object, I did current.age, okay? So let's go current age like this so that it makes more sense. It's more readable. Let's pop this back open. So let's go ahead and run this now. So you can see that your accumulator is going to start with 0. Your current age now is given as 14. So 0 plus 14 is 14. And then as you go through, now it's just adding on to this, right? So 14 plus 16 is 30. Then 30 plus 18 is 48. And as we keep going down, we get to 60. And because of where we place the console.log, we don't finish this up. But 60 plus 17 would give you 77, okay? So that would be the result, or what this guy is going to reduce to. So let me go ahead and close this. And let's get rid of this. We already know what this is, okay? So let's go ahead and give this a save now. And let's come down here. And I'm just going to quickly console.log this average age, okay? And right now it's just going to say 77. It's not doing exactly what we want, but let's just check it. Let's go ahead and run this. And you see it gets 77. Now, to get the actual average, what I need to do is take the result of this whole thing right here and divide it by the number of students. Remember, because this is an array, we're going to have a length property, okay? So what I can do is just divide this. I can divide this by students.length, okay? And then basically I'll be good to go, right? I'll have 77 divided by 5, which would give me 15.4. Okay, so let's pop this back open. Go ahead and clear this out and run this, and you get 15.4 as expected. Now, I can go ahead and convert this to an arrow function for you just so you get some practice. Delete the function keyword, and you're going to go ahead and delete these curly braces here. I'm just going to put my arrow there. Everything's going to be on one line for me, so I'm not going to need this return keyword, okay? So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this also. And basically we'll be good to go. Let me get rid of the semicolon. And so from there we'll be good to go. So if we pop this back open and let's run this again, and you still get the 15.4. Okay, so we've got the average age done. What if we wanted to find the max age, or the oldest person? So let's go something like const oldest student, okay? And I'm going to set this equal to, and let me get rid of this console.log. We don't need this for right now. I'm going to set this equal to, we're going to go students.reduce, okay? So again, I'm going to use an arrow function here. So ACC for accumulator, CUR for current. Set up my arrow here. But now I'm not going to do this ACC plus current. And actually, let me set this up as an anonymous function because I think this might be a little confusing as an arrow function at first. So let me go function, anonymous function, ACC, and then CUR. And so down here, we really have to think about things, okay? We know we want an initial value, but what is it going to be? Is it going to be 0? I want to find the oldest student. So that involves comparing things, right? I basically want to think about, okay, is this the largest value? Is this the largest value? So I would want to start with the first value. So I'm going to put the initial value here. I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to put students with square brackets and 0, and then I'm going to put .h, okay? So basically this is going to start with a accumulator value of 14, right? If we go up here, it's going to be 14. So then what's going to happen is it's going to come to this guy and it's going to compare it to this, okay? So it's going to compare it to 14, and we're going to set it up to where if it's larger, it's going to take the larger one. If it's smaller, it's going to leave it alone, okay? So basically you go to 14, you go to 16, you go to 18. So 18 is the largest, okay? And then you go to 12 and 17, okay? So let's go ahead and set up the logic here. This isn't going to be that bad. So basically what I want to do is I want to say that I'm just going to return, and I'm going to ask the question here. We're going to use the conditional operator. So I'm going to do, is the ACC, okay, is that greater than the current, so CUR.h, okay? So basically we're asking that question. So the first time through, again, students with square brackets and 0.h is 14. So we would come up here and we would say, basically, is 14 greater than 14? No. So if it is, then I want to basically take the ACC, okay, or the accumulator. If it's not, then I want to take the current.h, okay? So in this particular case, again, coming back here, this would not be greater, right? It would be the same. Here, this one would be greater, so I would want 16, or I'd want the current.age to go into this guy right here. Okay, so that's going to hold that now. So now 16 is going to get compared with 18. I want 18 to go in there because it's larger. Then it's going to compare to 12 and 17. It's not going to be larger. So in that case, you would want the accumulator to take over in each case, right? You'd want to store the same value there so that we hold 18. And we'll do console.log oldest student and see what we get. We should get 18. So let's go ahead and run this. And you do in fact get 18 as expected. If you are confused by this, again, you can always do some console.logs inside. So I'm going to console.log. Let's go ahead and do the ACC, the accumulator, okay? And you can again put some backticks in here to make this more transparent. So ACC, $ curly braces, ACC. And then here, let's just copy this and paste this. And I'm going to change this to the current. But again, you want the current.age, so you want to do CUR.age, okay? So we see where we're at. And I guess you can make this current age like this, maybe put a space, make it more grammatically correct or more correct like this. And I switched both of them at the same time, and I didn't mean to do that. So CUR.age like this. Okay, so let's pop this back open, and let's run this again. And you see the first time through, we've set this to be 14, right? Because we said students with square brackets and 0, so the first guy, .age, okay, so that was 14, so we grabbed the first one, and then we're comparing it to 14, and it wasn't bigger, so in this case, we took the value from current age, which was 14, so that's stored here, okay? The next time through, we compare it to 16. 16 is bigger, so that's what we keep. The next time through, we compare it to 18. 18 is bigger, so that's what we keep. The next time through, the current age is 12, so we compare it to that. 18 is bigger, so we keep that. Then the last time through, it compares it to 17. Again, 18 is bigger. So in the end, we end up returning 18. Okay, and that's what we get from this console.log, which came from our variable name, which was oldest student. So to finish things up, let's just convert it to an arrow function, get some more practice with that. Let's get rid of this. Let's go ahead and set up our little arrow here. So our arrow, and actually it would work fine like this, but since we have one line, let's go ahead and get rid of this. And let's go ahead and get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of the return keyword, and I'm going to move this all onto one line here. So it's going to go like that. And let's get rid of this. And then basically, let's come up here, get rid of that. And at this point, we're good to go. If we pop this back open and we run this, we still get 18.